Nicola, thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Um, for those that don't know, and I know many people watching this probably do, just tell us how Puy du Fou works and how it's changed since it was founded by your father.
Puy du Fou is a very special kind of leisure park because it's only a show park. We have no roller coasters, no rides, and it's surrounded by nature. And the natural environment is very, very important in Puy du Fou. So you walk during 2 days, 3 days inside the forest and inside very green spaces, and you go from a show to another show. And each show in Puy du Fou is based upon history. So in France, it's based upon the history of France, but in Spain, it's based upon Spanish history, of course. And so it's a kind of a new model for a park because it doesn't exist anywhere else in the world, as far as I know. So yeah, Puy du Fou has got a great success in France, and because of our success, we decided to go internationally for expanding the concept. And so we were going in last year in Spain, and we are opening a park in Spain in March, next March.
And you started as just one show, the Cinéscénie, didn't you? And then built a park around that show.
Exactly. The Puy du Fou is born like 42 years ago. And so it started with the Cinéscénie. When my father created the Puy du Fou, it was only one show. And the Cinéscénie is a big night show now with 2,500 people on stage. And it became probably one of the biggest show in the world. And after that, 10 years later, 10 years after the creation of the Cinéscénie, so it was like 30 years ago now, he created a park. And the park was not exactly the park it is now, but it was some little villages with architecture, but thematized, very themed architecture based upon also the historical architecture. And it became a success at the end of the 90s when we created the first outside open air show with some horses, eagles, and of course people and performers on stage, but also decors at real scale. And so all these special effects we had, etc., make like the ingredients of the show. And this kind of show didn't exist before, and it became a great success when we understood that it was the reason for people were coming. And that's why we created a lot of show after 2000. And now we have also hotels, and we can also welcome some business tourism. We have many activities around the shows themselves.
And I think the word immersion is very overused in this industry, and even the term theme parks abused. But you're both those things. It's very easy to forget where you are when you're there. You forget the present day. I think I remember when I was last there, the only thing that seemed modern was the LED screens for the information and the cans of drink that people were drinking. Everything else seemed historical. How carefully do you keep that theming and keep that immersion?
Yeah, it's the same team who conceive everything, the restaurants, the hotels, but also the shows, of course. And so the way we think the Puy du Fou is not an addition of many attractions, absolutely not. It's like a travel, it's a journey in the time, in the past time. And so it has to be very perfect everywhere. So the trees, the shows, the decors, sceneries, everything has to be very, very carefully prepared and designed and well made.
Yes.
So you can dream, and there is nothing around you which could escape you from the dream, let you
Yeah.
escape from the dream. So yeah, it has to be very, very authentic. And this is one of the main strengths of Puy du Fou. Everything is very authentic. Even the materials we use, it's real stone, real wood. And so when you touch it, you can feel that it's very real.
And even to some extent, the food in the restaurants, it's not all chips or whatever burgers. And yeah,
Yeah, burgers are typically American. So we are in
yeah.
France, and Europe, we don't eat burgers every day.
And the history, you some of it's authentic, but you change the history a little to suit your stories and suit the shows.
Yes, we write the stories like legends actually. So we let's say take many information, draw many information from history, but then we write stories which are completely invented.
Yeah.
But they could have been real, let's say. And so it's a bit like we can see in movie production in general. I mean, generally speaking, when you see some big historical movie, it's always invented stories, and this is the way we tell the story. It's not real history, it's more stories, little stories from the real history. And so the characters are most of them are invented, but so let's say the audience can feel that she or he looks like the main character of the show. And this is the way we create emotion, based upon history, but far from history. Let's say we are more a legendary than an historical park.
And just as a ride park keeps adding new rides every year or every other year, you usually have a new show every year, don't you?
We try, yes, to create a new show every year. It's very important for us to create a lot and to offer to our audience, our guests, new shows every year if we can. Yeah, because this is the way to not only to keep your audience with you, but also to keep your teams with you, because our teams, they love to create. We love to do that. We are like little kids, and we have a big toy, you know. So it's just the story is quite simple, more simple than you can imagine. It's just we need to create, and we love to offer it to the audience. But it's not only for the audience, also for us.
But again, you say it's simple, but there's a lot of technology there behind the scenes, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a lot of technology because we love to use the technology, but the technology is completely hidden behind the story itself. So technology has to serve. Technology is like a slave, you know, of the staging and of the storytelling. So you cannot see the technology in Puy du Fou. You just can imagine there is a lot of, because when we make disappear a whole castle or something like that, of course there is huge technology behind this, but you don't see technology. You see a story. You see magic effects. You see special effects, but you don't see the technology itself.
And your new show for this year, you've reinvented the show on the lake, haven't you? One of the night shows.
Yes, Les Noces de Feu. It means like the wedding of fire, something like that in English. So it's a very simple story, only in music. It means that we don't have any dialogues. It's only music, just some lyrics at the very beginning as a poem, at the very beginning of the show. But then it's only classical music. So we have, of course, orchestrate completely the classical music. And it works very well because it's very poetic on the lake. And when you see the lake, it seems to be very wild, and you can't imagine that from the lake it will exit like a carriage or like drawn by some swans, you know, the big birds, you know. And you see some hologramic decors coming also from the water, and the pianist coming also from the water, and then he's like skiing on the water with his piano. So it's a kind of phantasmagory, we could say, and everybody can like it, and everybody love it actually, and so we are very happy with this show because people are happy with it.
And that's inside the main park, whereas the Cinéscénie is a second gate, in effect, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Cinéscénie is completely a second gate. And as I said, it was the first original show of Puy du Fou. And now it's huge because we can welcome like 13,000 people, 13,000 seats in the tribunes. So it's quite big as a stadium, you know. And it's fully booked every night, except for COVID, of course, because with COVID we had some limitation. But let's say usually it's completely fully booked. Yes, we have many effects in the show. Also, we have, like I said, a lot of people on stage because more than 2,000 people are saying, but we have also new effects. Like this year, we had a plane on the show. A plane. The plane is like 20 meters large, 20 meters large. So it's huge, and it comes from above the audience, like surprising, because it's we go through the history in this show from the Middle Age to the Second World War, and there is a big party in the 30s, and suddenly the plane arrives to break the party and to drop some bombs on the stage. So the stage is huge, and the plane is arriving, and it's a real aircraft. People ask, is it an hologram?
Yeah.
Is it a drone? How is it possible to have this above the stage? It's a real plane.
It's actually easier that way, right?
Easier like this. Yes.
So you touched on COVID there. Obviously, you pack a lot of people into your arenas. How are you managing this season with capacity?
Now we have, let's say, an average of 3,000 seats in each big show arena. And so this is the way we can organize, let's say, the walk of the people in the park, because when they go to see the Musketeer show at 10 a.m., then they will see the Viking show at 11 a.m. And because there are 3,000 in the Musketeer show, then also 3,000 in the Viking show, we know that they will go from the Musketeer to the Viking, even if they choose by themselves. Everybody is free, of course, in the park. But we know that because of the schedule we offer them to the guests, we know exactly where they will go after this show, and they will go there, etc., etc. So yeah, the way we organize the walking experience of the audience is thought thanks to a schedule that we print every day. So we can change the schedule every day. We can also change the schedule of the shows, not only every day, but also in the day, inside the day. So in the middle of the day, if there is like more attendance that we have planned, we can change it and adapt and add some shows, for example, in the day. It happens sometimes. So yes, this is a quite unique system probably in the world, to be able to print the schedule every day, so we adapt it to the attendance, and it's very, very efficient.
But the capacity in the park is lower, and you have to leave spaces between people.
Yeah, you're right. With the COVID, you mean in general?
Yeah.
It's almost 20,000 people. The capacity we are allowed now to welcome. Actually, the capacity could be like 38,000 people in the park, but actually our peak days are around 25,000 usually, and now our peak days are a bit less at 20,000, because this is the capacity, the limit capacity.
Yeah. But with that limited capacity, the demand is still there. Your customers
yeah, of course, the demand is here, but we have still some people who are afraid of coming now because of this coronavirus, and so either they don't want to come because of the disease, or they don't want to come because you have to wear a mask. It's you have to, you can't escape this, and so we have two kind of people who don't come because of this.
And the hotel, well, first of all, you added the park because people needed something to do while they were waiting for the night show. And then you added the hotels because you wanted them to stay longer, and maybe one day wasn't long enough.
Yeah, the story is quite simple. As soon as you have enough shows in the park to welcome people not only one day but 2 days, you need hotels.
Yeah.
And we had some people who were not very happy with some experience in some hotels, but which were not operated by us, but it was hotels from outside the site. And so we decided to create our first hotel in 2007. But the idea was not to create one hotel, but to create a themed hotel. So it's a Roman villa, and it's Roman villa from the 3rd century, so it's typically Roman as you have in mind, and then we create another one from the 5th century, so it's on the water, little houses on the water, very, very natural. So and we have now the Louis XIV castle.
Yeah.
We have made a new one. We have created a new one this year. So we have 6 hotels like these, big ones, with 6 different historical themes, and it works very well. And with the night show we have, so people can really spend 2 days, 3 days with many shows to see, and they have the feeling that their journey was completely full of emotion and full of shows, and so they live very happy.
And how has your guest profile changed? Is it more international since you opened the hotels?
We have about usually we have about 14% of our attendants who are foreigners. So let's say it's not a lot, but it's a good news in this situation, not to
Yeah.
be depending on the foreigners attendance. So let's say we want to increase a bit this attendance in the next years, but it will depend on the situation in the next years, because we don't know after what happens in the world how it could work. But let's say we can attract more European people first, and then we could also attract more American people, Chinese people, not thinking that they will come for Puy du Fou, but thinking that they come in France, they come in Paris. So as soon as they are in Paris, we can just pick them up in Paris and bring them in Puy du Fou. So we are thinking about some ideas to bring them in a very good and cool and very attractive experience. So we can increase the foreigner attendance.
And if we talk now about your expansion internationally, first of all, that came with the Efteling, is that right?
Yeah.
Avalanche show there. You've helped set up a show in England, and now you have the park in France. Spain. At what point did you realise you could export the model, and how did you put the team in place?
First of all, I saw in 2010, somewhere like this, that some people were coming from many countries to ask us to make a kind of Puy du Fou in their country based upon their culture, their heritage, their history. So I thought, okay, if there is so many ask, maybe it's because we should do something. And then I went to Efteling just to visit it with my team, and the big boss of Efteling asked me to remake a show they have made, and they trusted us to make a show outside of our own site. It was the first time. So Efteling, thanks to Efteling, we were able to start the international expansion, and Efteling helped us a lot for that. And so we make the first show there. It was like 1,000 kilometers from our base, our camp, our site. And so we made this with a team with 50 people. And still now, it was in 2013, and still now we are the operators of the show. It's our team in the show.
Yeah.
And we take care of this show every day, and we have about 50 people still there. And then, as you said, we create another show in 2016 in England, and it was also for someone else. And we did the show. But after that, I thought, okay, I'm able to create the show. I'm with my team. We are able to create a show outside and abroad. So let's create our own shows for ourselves. And so let's buy a land. And we bought a land in Spain after a study of 10 countries. We have chosen Spain, and in Spain we have chosen Toledo, which is just in the south of Madrid. Madrid, as you know, is the capital city, so there is a lot of people there. And this is why we have chosen Toledo, because it's the historical capital city, because it's because of the geography, it's very close to Madrid, because there is a lot of tourists, because we had a very, very warm welcome in Toledo, even politically speaking. So we understood that this was the city where we had to go, and we have started the new adventure there. But as the owner, let's say the owner, yes, of the experience.
I think you have a very signature style, certainly in the evening shows, and you can see that to some extent in the English show Kinran. But when you're working with the Efteling also have a very distinctive style. How did you marry your style and their style to do a show that you were both happy with?
Let's say we had to get dressed as an Efteling man or woman. I mean, in the way we thought the show for Efteling, because Efteling has, like you say, a very strong style, and we had to dive in this style, if I can say that, to become this style. And the
Yeah,
way of thinking to create the show was not Puy du Fou way of thinking, but the Efteling way of thinking. So we had to adapt ourselves to this way of thinking, to this artistic view. And this is the reason for when you see the Ravline show, which is the show in Efteling we've made, you see an Efteling style. Even if you can recognize some Puy du Fou ingredients, you
yeah.
see Efteling style. And this is what we aim at.
And that show isn't as heavily reliant on lots of performers like some of your own shows.
Yes, in
Yeah,
Hubline we can have like 6 performance a day, which is a
yeah.
lot, and we plays 1,500 performance each year, so it's a lot. Yeah.
So sorry, I mean performers, actors.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry. Performers, we have about 50 people there,
yeah,
but on stage we have a bit more than 23, I think, performers on stage to make the show. We have horse riders, stunts, we have falconers, we have, you know, yeah, this style of jobs. I'm thinking in the same time. Yeah. So we can make the show with, and it's of course with women and men. And so we play the show 6 times a day, like I said, because it lasts about 23 minutes.
yeah.
So yeah, this is the idea.
And animals are as important as human performers for you.
Yes, animals. When you deal with history, you deal with animals, because animals were the best friends of
Yeah,
human before arrival of the cars, before arrival of the city and the urban life. And now we see that in the cities, in our countries, generally speaking, people want to come back to natural environment, and they want to create the link with animals. But actually, we had the link during 1,000 years with animals, and we have just forgotten this because we live in cities now. But actually, yeah, you can't deal with history without animals. Like the horse, for example, is the best friend of because without any car, you have a horse. So this is why animals are really, for us, not only the best friends of the humankind, but also uh, they are part of the history. And you cannot also let's say avoid animals, thinking that human beings have made their own history just by their own. No, they have made history with animals, and they have lived in the nature, in the middle of the nature. So among the animals, I would say.
and which are easier to train, the humans or the animals?
I think uh, the animals, they stay always like kids if
Yeah,
you create the right condition. So this is very pleasant, because what I like is to stay a kid myself, and I ask my team to stay a kid in their mind. So even if we have to be adults, we have to create as kids. And the animals, they love to play, and so as soon as they play, you can see that they are in good health. We control that very, very, very carefully. We control their health every day with a lot of care, because it means if they are in a good health, that they are mentally speaking in a good mood, and they like to play the show. But if they don't like to play the show, you see that very quickly. Even if it's a bird, it can be a horse, can be whatever, even a duck, can have a mood. So yeah, probably animals are easier to stage in a way. But you have to accept, when you put some animal on stage, that it cannot be every day, every show, the same show. It cannot be, because
mm,
the animals, they have the freedom to go at the speed they decide, and to go where they want if they want to go somewhere else. So you cannot ask this, you cannot have the same exigence with animals than with human beings. You can ask this to human beings, but to animals you ask, of course, much less. So this is the deal.
And what is the status? Just update us on the Spanish park. You've got the night show open, but the
Yeah.
rest of the park,
Yeah.
has that been delayed by COVID?
We are lucky because
Yeah.
no, it has not been delayed. I mean, for the whole project, what has been delayed is the opening of the night show this year, because we opened the night show actually last year.
Yeah.
The premiere was last year at the end of August, and we got a large success. And then we had planned to open the night show, only the night show, during 2020, from like April to October. Actually, of course, we were not able to open in April because of coronavirus. So we opened only in July. So we lost about 3 months opening. But then we didn't lose a lot of time on the buildings of the park. And the building of the park is aiming at an opening in March 21. So we are very lucky because we have not lost time for the building, and because the target is really March 21, we will get it definitely. I mean, as soon as I talk to you now, but
Yeah.
for the moment, we can get it.
And how many shows will there be there?
We will have 4 big shows,
Yeah.
and 3 little villages. So it's like a small Puy du Fou park, as you can see in France, but smaller. And so we aim at increasing, of course, the number of shows in the next years. So we will have new shows also in the next 10 years, many new shows, different size. But
Yeah.
the first 4 ones are really big shows.
Are they similar to the shows in France, or have you done something totally different?
Yes, let's say they are similar in the way we stage the show, but the story are completely Spanish.
Yeah. And you've got hotels planned in Spain as well?
No, we don't want to create hotels
Yeah.
now, because there are some very good hotels in the city of Toledo, and because we are very close to the city, a few minutes to go there.
Yeah.
It's better to keep to let the hotels from Toledo to welcome our guests. It's also good because they are already historical hotels, because all the city is
Yes.
historical. So you don't really break the dream when you go to sleep in Toledo, in the middle of Toledo, in downtown Toledo. It's like so beautiful that you are still in the Puy du Fou and in Toledo in the same time.
Now, your biggest project yet, I guess, is going to be the Chinese park, Puy du Fou Asia. What will be different there other than the stories? Is it going to be bigger, better?
Chinese see things in very large way. So let's say we can really increase our dreams. So yes, we can create some shows which could be not only very different from what we have done in France, but also larger. I think also China is a very good opportunity for us to test some new concepts. And a concept for me means a way of staging, the way I will bring you in a story. So you have 2 things to make a show. You have to question, what is the story? What do you want to tell? And the second question is, how do you want to tell it? And what do you want to show, we could say. So what do you want to tell? What do you want to show? And the way we can show the story, the way we can stage it, can be really much more like immersive way. Not because it's in China, but because in China we will have some means that we could not have in Europe, because everything is so big and bigger. Just because attendance is bigger, so the means are bigger. Because when you have like 1 million people in France or Spain, you can get like 5 millions in China, and if you have 10 million in France, you can get 50 millions in China. It's like huge in China, because it's let's say 1/3 of the humankind. I mean, in terms of people who are able, who have the capacity to go in a park, because they have the financial means to go there. It's like, yes, 1/3 of the humanity, probably China. So China, you cannot avoid China if you want to expand your brand and to be a global brand. And this is my target. So I definitely want to be a global brand in the next 15 years. And to get this target, I need to go in China.
And what challenges were there? You've been looking at this for some time, I know, but there must have been things that stopped you. How did you overcome these along the way?
You mean in China?
Yeah,
The,
yeah,
the first challenge is, of course, the cultural distance between us and China, because Chinese have a way of thinking which is so different from ours, so different. So we must just understand the way they think, to be sure that we understand each other, and to be sure that we understand each other on the target, on the what will be the purpose, what will be the content of the park, what will be not only the attendance, these kind of figures, but more what will be the spirit of the project. And this is for me the main challenge, to be sure that we can understand each other, and that there is no hidden challenge in the challenge itself. So yeah, the trust is something which is quite difficult to get, and this is normal because we have very different.
yeah. And you have a local partner in China.
Yes, we
Yeah,
have. You cannot go in China without
yeah,
any local partner. You have to have a Chinese partner. Even Disney has a Chinese partner, and everybody has a Chinese, because you cannot own the land.
yeah,
So you cannot own the company by yourself. If you operate a show, it's not possible to be the main owner of the company as a French company, as a foreigner company. So you have to find some acceptable business model which could work for everybody, Chinese part and French part. And this is what we work
And
now.
who is your partner? What's their background?
Oh, we work actually on several projects in the same
Yeah,
time. So
yeah,
we have it's some state partners, it's some state companies. Because
yeah,
if you work with small companies, I don't think you can manage to do anything. So it's maybe possible, but we prefer to work with big companies, because they don't see us as the main challenge for them. They see us as one little challenge, when for us it's big. So let's be very humble, you know. I think we are so small comparison with what they have in mind. So the best way, probably. I think so, but maybe I'm wrong. But I think for the moment, the best deals we have made in China are with some big companies, because, yeah, again, they will live a long life and they will be still there in 30 years. And they have big means, and they have many lands, and they have many opportunity to offer. So this is why I like the idea to work with some. But I cannot actually say now who are the partners. I cannot
okay,
say.
yeah.
Yeah.
And can you say about the equity? Will you own the project, or are they investors as well?
Um, let's say for the moment it's a bit too early because it's under discussion. So yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay. The first project is near the Great Wall of China.
Yeah, absolutely. We discussed about this project, but you know, when you sign something in China, when you sign an agreement in China, maybe you know that it's just the beginning of the discussion.
Yeah,
When you sign in Europe or in Western countries, it's the end of the negotiation. But in China, it's just the beginning. So the idea is to see how we can make what will be actually the political authorization we can get, etc., etc. So it takes time, and we know that, and we have time to do that. So we have a small team in China, but able to develop and to offer the first phase of the project. And then let's say, I think in 2025 we will have opened something in China. This is my target from the very beginning, 2025. This is what I announced at the very beginning. So I think we can get it.
And do you want to start the way you're doing in Spain with one show and then do a park, or do you need to go big to start with in China?
It depends on the places we are discussing
Yeah,
with. It depends on the cities. It depends but it's a very good question. We could start in the same way as we did in Spain or France, but we could also start with one big park from the very beginning. Yeah.
yeah. But you're still not entirely sure the nearest city for that.
We are discussing, actually, few cities are in competition actually
Yeah,
now presently. So this is why I cannot say many things about this, because we discuss with several cities in China, among the biggest ones, and they are offering us some beautiful places and lands. But we are not only thinking about just create a park as beautiful. We're also thinking about other concepts. But I will reveal this later.
and one of the things, as we said before, the performers, the actors are very important to you. There's already some cultural entertainment providers in China that do large shows with thousands of actors. That's something that you hope to do there and have an even bigger cast than in France, I guess.
In China, we could do that. Yes,
Yeah,
of course. We could create big shows, of course, with big casts. Yeah, it's a big part of the Puy du Fou signature. You're right. Um, but I think we also have to think of other concepts, not to stay on the same concept. I don't want to reproduce all my life the same concept. I want really to create new things, even if we sometimes we will reproduce, as we do in Spain, some concept. We have to invent new concept and to offer new experience to people. Um, Not only because we need it, but also because, your kids and my kids, they will have some Google glasses and Apple glasses in the next years, before 10 years, maybe in the next 5 years. And what will they see in their Google glasses? They will see some augmented reality added in the realities they can see. It's like sunglasses, you can see the reality around you, but you can add some elements in your glasses. And what does it mean? This means that they won't think the world in the same way we can do, you and me. They won't have the same relationship with reality. And so if you play with the same special effects and same way of staging in 30 years from now, it won't work anymore. I don't think so. I think
yeah.
and maybe this is the problem with some big show company, very well known, who has probably not changed their way of staging, and after 20 or 30 years of big success, then they disappear because they didn't change anything. So I think Puy du Fou can have exactly the same bad experience and the same end. It just depends on the way we are able to reinvent our concepts and to create new concepts. How your kids will want to experience a show, it won't be the same way as you. And you are now amazed by something in Puy du Fou. Okay, very good. I'm pleased for that. But I think in 30 years, you won't be pleased anymore. And your kids, they will say, oh, it's just bullshit. So we have to think about this and to be always moving forward to find what will be the needs of the next generations.
And you hope that your international efforts in China in particular will help you learn some stuff, really.
Yes, it always helps to visit some shows in China, to visit to understand their habits, and to go also in other countries, of course, everywhere in the world, to see many shows as soon as we can, because I think really you cannot understand your world, the prison world, if you don't see some shows, of course, some movies also. You have seen also, as I saw it, the Netflix expansion, and this is very, very interesting because the movie production business model has completely changed, and it has turned, in a like it's like a U-turn, another U-turn, but it's something completely new. And so this kind of phenomenon has to be analyzed very carefully by us to be sure that we understand what happens in the world, and you cannot offer leisure if you are not connected to your world.
You want to be a global brand more than you already are in the next 15 years, you say. Where else would you need to go to make that happen?
If I go in Europe like I did, if I go in Asia like I try to go, where should I go after that? On another probably part of the world, which is more in the West. But where? Let's guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, who knows? But maybe I should have a little Puy du Fou flag on the American continent. I mean, not obviously in. I mean, not in USA or in. I don't know if it would be in USA or not. Doesn't matter yet for me. You know, I have to go step by step, and we are in 2020, so I'm just now studying this the opportunities I can have there, but it's a bit too early to say it will be in this country or this one. It's too early.
And you say that nobody else does what you do. Why?
Sorry, Owen. Can you?
Yeah, you just said that earlier on. You said that what you do is still very original, and it is. But why do you think, after all these years, nobody has? People have copied you, right? But not on this scale.
It's a very good question. I think it's like when you go to a restaurant, you know, and my comparison will be typically French. You go to a restaurant with 3 stars, and you eat the things the restaurant offers you, and you think, oh, it's good and doesn't seem so complicated to do. And you look at the decoration and you think the same, and then you go back home and you create the same place and you try to create the same cooking, but actually you cannot get the 3 stars. Why? Because it's not so easy to get 3 stars.
Yeah.
So I don't want to compare Puy du Fou with the 3 stars restaurants. It's not what I say, but I mean, it's not because you think that it's easy to reproduce that you can do it. And there is something which is completely invisible. It's experience. And when we do a show, people think, oh, it's so simple. The idea is so simple. When you do, I don't know, Le Mystère de la Pérouse, when you are walking in the sheep, you know, moving like this, you think, oh, it's so simple. The idea is very simple. And that's right, it's very simple. But to make it, you have to have a long experience of what could work, what could not work, and why it didn't work, and why technically speaking it could work, but why artistically speaking it doesn't work, or it worked, you know. So this is all this artistic experience, all the tests we have made, all the failures we had, which can bring you to success. But you can try to copy Puy du Fou, but there is not only the visible part. You will copy only the visible parts, but it will be hard to make it works, because you cannot see the backstage. You cannot see what happened before. You cannot see what happens during the show in the backstage. So if you cannot see that, to copy is quite difficult. And then there is something which is like the salt in the cooking, is the soul of the show. And there is, we have to find the soul of the show. When we create a show, we find out the soul as we dig and we look for this soul ourselves. I mean, it's not something which is easy to find. We write the first show and we think, oh, it's too mechanical. It's too it looks like mathematics, but there is no emotion in it. So we have to find the way to create an emotion. So we just drop it in the garbage and we think again and again and again. And so I think about the show we made in Spain. We have prepared in Spain, and which will open in next March. And we try really to catch this string, which is the soul, like in a violin. You know, we call it the soul of the violin, and we have to to find it, and it's an invisible target. So this is something which is not so easy to copy. I think maybe it's a reason for we have not been copied so many times. But I think Chinese people will try to copy us for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
They are not afraid of that.
As you've expanded around the world, you're still very hands-on. You're involved in the production of the shows. You're not just in meetings all the time, are you? How do you manage to be still so involved?
I have a very good team. I have a very good team, and my team is preparing all the elements. So I ask for a mood board on this theme, and I have the mood board very well down on this theme. Like 2 days later or 3 days later, I ask for a 3D SketchUp of a volume of something, and my team is able to understand exactly what I want. So the key issue is to have the team able not only to be very professional, very efficient, but to understand exactly what I have in mind. And then I write new ideas every day, every night, all
Yeah.
the time, and so I can send the ideas to the team, and then they know exactly the process, and so we have very, let's say, very strict processes to start from an idea on the paper to make it. There is a process, a methodology that my team masters very well, and so this is the key. And then we have some methods which have been invented by us to make it possible. Like when you create like 4 shows in the same time, and we will open in the same day 4 big shows with big cast in Spain, like I said, it means that I cannot be in the same time in the 4 shows. So how can I manage this? With some 3D moving movies that I made with my team to stage exactly the things. So I can take care of the show number 1, and in the same time I have some people with me taking care of the performers on stage, and to make the right exercises to be able to prepare the things. So it's like when you write your cooking ingredients, you write it to let some other people make it instead of you, and so when you just arrive, you just test it. It's quite the same. So I can really manage all the shows even in China. So this morning, before talking to you, I have my Chinese morning every Wednesday, but also Tuesday. So and sometimes Friday or so, often. So it's like I speak Chinese, or I think in Chinese till 11 in the morning, and then it's over. And I speak Spanish only at 5 because at PM, because Spain is like the opposite. They start very late and they finish very late. So as soon as you have a good methodology, you can manage many projects in the same time. Yeah, and honestly, it's really because my team is used to face some new ideas and to develop new ideas all the time. Because as soon as I finish this call, I will go to see one of my colleague to say I have an idea, because that's true. I have an idea on the paper behind me, and then to talk with him about this idea, and to let him maybe choose someone in his own team. Sorry, to maybe to lead a little working group to study this idea and to see if it's feasible or not. Is there any business plan to make? Yeah, maybe or not. It depends on what idea we are talking about, and so it depends on what kind of project we can have. But we go very fast. We go very fast to avoid that, to have big files on your office everywhere. You have to go fast. You have to make the decision fast, even the artistic decisions. So we work a long time in advance, so we can work fast and then let it on the side. Because when you think about a show, a script for a show, you let it on a site during like 15 days, and then you take it back and you watch it and you think, oh, it's not good. So you remake it. So you need time. You need 1 year, sometimes 2 years to think about a concept and a project, and then okay, it's ready. It's completely written. It's okay. All the team can really start to work on it. Yeah.
And what are your plans for France now? How can you expand that park? You're already the second or third busiest park in France after Disney. Can you go higher in terms of attendance? Do you build more hotels, a second gate, third gate?
Let's say we can expand the hotels, yes, for sure. We can have maybe a bit more guests, but the localization of the location of the Puy du Fou is very far from every big city in France. So I really don't believe that we can aim at 3 million guests. I think it's not possible where we are. Even if we have many fans, etc., I don't think it's possible. I think the development, the growing of the Puy du Fou will be international, but we want to keep also human scale. So it's not a bad news for us to be limited to have a kind of roof in France. It's something which is an opportunity not to lose your soul, not to lose your human scale. So let's say it doesn't mean that we won't create new shows. Of course, we will expand also and create new shows. And yes, we are thinking about many different ideas for France. But we can also test some other ideas internationally. So it's good sometimes to test some ideas abroad and to bring them back to France, but we can also do the opposite. So let's say, I don't think we will have a huge attendance in the next 10 years. I think we can keep the people longer. So instead of 1 day, we can keep them 2 days, 3 days. Now, most of the people stay 2 days, but we can imagine to keep them like 3 days, 4 days. It depends on what we have to offer.
But do you need another park to do that?
I'm very careful with another park, it's too early to speak about that really, because another park means, well, let's say, look at Disney experience in France. It was not so good. Second park was not a big success. I don't think that now they have some regrets. I think at the time they opened the second park was not so successful as they expected. It's some Disney guys who told me that, so I don't want to speak instead of or in their place. I don't want to speak for them, but I just speak as a watcher from outside, and we have to let's say draw this experience from this experience, something to learn for us. We cannot say Disney didn't get the success at the very beginning of the second park, but we will get it. Why? Because if Disney had a failure, we should be very careful with this idea. So now they are strong enough to have these two parks, and it works, and very good. And it's a good news for Disney. But let's say we have to be very careful with the idea of a second park. It's very fashionable in the leisure industry. Oh, will you open a second gate, a second park? It's not so easy. It's not so easy, and we have to think about the way we could do that. And if you open a second park, it has to be very different from the first one. So if it's the same idea and you just add some shows like you have already seen in Puy du Fou, what is the second park? The same thing. It's just another other ideas, but the same main idea. So I don't want to open anything if I don't have the idea, which is different from the first one.
And the idea wouldn't be rides or water park?
No.
Everyone
definitely not. We want to tell stories, and rides, you don't tell any story.
How important is it for you that you stay a family business? You consider yourself a family business still?
Yes, in a way, yeah. It's quite special family business, because maybe, as you know, we don't get any money from dividends or from property rights, we don't want to get this money, so we don't touch anything from the very beginning. So this is something we don't. When you say I do this job because of passion and not for money, it's a beautiful speech, but then prove it. So I prefer to prove it, saying, okay, I don't want to make it for money, but just for passion. So I prove it because I don't get any property rights or anything like this. But the good news is I can go faster to realize my dreams, because the more money you keep to invest in your dreams, the faster you go, the faster you will make them real. So, but yes, it's a kind of family business in because my father created Puy du Fou.
Yeah,
and I am the chairman now.
And your children are interested in continuing?
It's a bit early, you know, they are very young, but they are very interested in Puy du Fou in general, which is a good news for me as every father in the world. But let's say it's really too early to make any decision.
Well, I thank you very much for your time today. It's been
Thank you.
Great speaking to you. If people have any questions for Nicolas, they can send them through the expo, and he'll try and answer those if he can.